Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Zone TV. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I want to ask you all if you would please, um, if you like the show, if you would please give me a thumbs up. And also, I would love for you to leave a comment under the video so I know what your thoughts are on the shows. I'd really appreciate that as well. And if you like the show, if you would please subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. It would really help my channel out. Now, tonight I have a fabulous guest. So it's Dave Spinks. So let's bring Dave Spinks on. Hey, Dave, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey Norene, hey everybody. My pleasure as always.
Hey, congratulations on your upcoming book. Um, it
Thank-
looks absolutely fabulous. The cover is really awesome. So, Dave, before we start the show, for those who may be joining us for the very first time, and I can't imagine anybody not knowing you, but would you please tell the viewers about yourself?
Um, sure. Well, just to start off, I am a military veteran. I was in the U.S. Air Force for over 8 years. Active duty. I retired in 2001 from that, and then I went into the Army National Guard for a year to help my buddy train guys to go to Iraq and Afghanistan. I also went into federal law, or first I worked for state law enforcement, and then I went into federal law enforcement, which I retired after a 20-year government career. I've been investigating and researching the paranormal and the strange and the unexplained for many, many years, even before my working life. I started doing that as a young man because I had several experiences as a young man. I started writing books many years later after I retired about all these investigations and experiences I've had over many, many years. I think I'm around 35, 36 years into this stuff now. So I have, a vast knowledge base and experience level. There's no experts in any of this. It's all based off of experience level and theoretically in theoretical levels. All this stuff is mostly theory, but we've been able to document some pretty prolific things in the recent past and even in nowadays because of the technology is advancing at such a rapid rate. People are really getting some phenomenal paranormal evidence. Now, there's a double-edged sword with that as well. With the advancement of AI and CGI and all that fun stuff, there's a lot of really good fakes out there. So you have to be really careful with the things you see on social media, YouTube, and everything else because people want to be famous and they want to get a ton of views and they want to do all this, that, make a ton of money. But you know, that's the unfortunate double-edged sword of technology. So, you got to keep on trucking and keep on doing the real thing.
Dave, so you have this new book coming out, and you
Mhm.
have it's beyond Mothman. So I
Yes.
know when people talk about Point Pleasant, they automatically just think of Mothman. But you said there's
Mhm.
so much out there in connection to Mothman. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. I wanted to write this book because I've spent well over 20, 25 plus years investigating, researching this whole area, not just Point Pleasant, but the surrounding areas around it, because I am telling you, this area is one of the weirdest places on the planet. And I've been to a lot of them, trust me. The Point Pleasant area, okay, we'll just say area, and surrounding communities and some counties right next to it, there's some of the most prolific UFO cryptid and haunting reports of any of the ones I've ever investigated. And I've done a lot, as you know. So this area has everything. You've got multiple strange creature sightings. You've got just countless UFO reports dating back. I wrote about some of those in my UFO, real UFOs of West Virginia book. And of course, the infamous Mothman. But you have even more than that. You have government clandestine projects. You've just got a whole slew of things. Not to mention the infamous Chief Cornstalk curse. the many battles that were fought in this on this Point Pleasant area, because it is a strategic area, especially in the old days. Um, you've got battles that date back all the way to the French and Indian Wars, and everything else. So, um, going all the way up to the Revolution, Civil War, and they, as we every most people know anything about Point Pleasant, they built explosives right down from the town a few miles away for the war effort in World War II. So many clandestine things going on there. The natives knew it was a special area. It was magical. It had energy. You've got two main ginormous rivers that run together right at the point, the Kanawha and the infamous Ohio rivers. Right there, converged together on the point. That's why it's called Point Pleasant. The town was really founded in 1749 by the French, an explorer named Pierre Joseph, and excuse me if I mispronounce this because I don't speak French, Celeron de Blainville. He claimed the valley for the French, and he buried a plaque right there on Point Pleasant,
Oh,
claiming it, which
is
it's
that
still
where
there.
is that the picture of you with the headstone?
No, that's
Oh,
actually Chief Cornstalk's stone there. So, also in 1774, over 1,000 Virginia militia led by Colonel Lewis defeated a near equal force of Algonquin and Shawnee Native Americans there. Many people were killed on both sides, and it was considered the first battle of the Revolutionary War, legitimately. So, you've got all this history. You've got major rivers. We know rivers, as we talked about many times on your show, Norene, how rivers and water are conducive to paranormal activity in
oh yeah.
some cases. So, and being that the land was sacred to the natives of the area, we know that many tribes put sort of like an elemental spirit to guard those sacred areas. And when it's violated or desecrated, these things can lead to crazy paranormal activity. Just like at Skinwalker Ranch, I always make the comparison. We don't get the credit here on the East Coast that the West gets in a lot of these situations. But guess what? We have just as many Native American tribes. We have just as many legends, myths, and lore here as the West Coast. And those tribes themselves have their own uh, belief system when it comes to such as skinwalkers, wendigos, and the whole nine yards. So we were literally Point Pleasant and the surrounding area is just one of those places that has it all when it comes to the unexplained. It really legitimately does. And having spent 20, 25 plus years off and on over the years investigating various claims, various reports, I've documented a lot of crazy evidence there by myself and with many other investigators that I've taken there.
Okay, Dave, we have a request for the Lowe Hotel, the historic haunted Lowe Hotel.
What do you mean a request?
They want you to talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk. We'll save that toward the end.
Oh, okay.
That's part of what I was going to talk about anyway.
Oh.
So, well, we'll
uh, okay.
talk about it.
Now you were just at the festival. Isn't that the one that's your festival now, isn't it? Point
No, I do
Pleasant?
the flat. No, I do the Flatwoods Monster. The
Oh, the
Mothman
flower.
Festival has been going on for quite a number of years now. Over I don't even know how many, probably 15 or 20 years. But it's a huge festival. It's mainly almost 99.9% geared towards the Mothman because of what happened there. The Mothman was sighted there for almost an entire year. Many strange things happened. Men in black were appearing, telling citizens to stop talking about what they were experiencing. The creature was seen by numerous people, teenagers out of the bunkers. It chased some of them. Other people had horrible physical reactions when they saw this red-eyed monster. And if you want, I'll give you a brief description, like a slight description of the Mothman. It's said to be 6 to 8 feet tall, winged humanoid creature with massive glowing red eyes. Um, of course, the government always tries to debunk these things as an owl, but I've never, ever, ever heard of an owl that's 6 to 8 feet tall and is big enough to carry off a human being and can fly at 100 miles an hour. So in the most famous, the first sighting when some four teenagers were in the car and they were chased by this thing. They said they hit speeds of 100 miles an hour, and this creature was keeping up with them in the air. So
My
you've got a whole bunch of stuff. It all culminated when the Silver Bridge collapsed, killing 46 people. Um, so the Mothman was seen just before that as well, before it was first sighted in Point Pleasant in a town called Clendenin here in West Virginia by 4 or 5 guys digging a grave. They saw a large winged humanoid creature fly right over their head when they're digging this grave. And then that's when it started showing up in Point Pleasant right before the bridge collapsed. So, it was really, really intense. The police were involved. There was really a lot of UFOs over the years. The guy that wrote a really good book on it, of course, John Keel made the Mothman prophecies, but Jeff Wamsley spent a lot of his time. He runs and owns the Mothman Museum in Point Pleasant, and he wrote a couple of excellent books about it. And I highly suggest his books on the Mothman itself because he was, he has all the original papers from John Keel, who wrote the Mothman Prophecies book, and then they later did the movie with Richard Gere, if you've ever seen it. But Jeff did a phenomenal job on his books. But the thing is, so many different things happen, and when the Mothman was being sighted there was literally thousands of UFO sightings reported over Point Pleasant, out at the bunkers, all around the surrounding communities, in Gallipolis, which is just across the river in Ohio, and all over. And they're literally documented in newspaper articles. Anyone can go and look them up. But the amount of UFOs that we're seeing during that time, it's staggering. There was also reports of from eyewitnesses that said they saw Mothman flying over the town or out near the bunkers, and then there was a UFO over top of it, and they were flying in sync. So you've got all kinds of just crazy reports that were documented by the local newspapers and whatnot. So, but my book is not mainly on the Mothman. It's about all the time I've spent in and around that area investigating hauntings, UFOs, strange creatures, and of course a little bit about the Mothman. The Mothman's been done and overdone and done many times. There's really not much more information you can get about it than that's already out there. But over my time being in the area, I soon discovered, man, there's reports of everything here. And, I've spent 20 to 25 years off and on over the years going up there, interviewing witnesses and investigating different claims and sightings. So, with that, we can talk about the Jeff and Crystal drinking case if you would like.
Oh, yeah. Hold on for a second. Yep. Yeah. Oh, darn it. Hold on for a second. Wrong one. Ah, I hate this. Okay.
I'll talk a little bit about
Go ahead.
their case. I'll give you the brief overview of their case and some of the stuff we experienced while filming In Search of Monsters there
Go ahead.
with them. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so as what happens to me a lot of times, I get calls from production companies wanting me to speak about whatever topics on a TV show or whatever. And I got this call several years ago. I think it was 2017 or 18 now. Might have been 19. And they said, hey, we got your name from some of the people up here in Point Pleasant. I think Jeff referred me to them for this particular show because we have a couple that had a horrifying experience out at the bunkers and doing what you do. Can you come up here and see if you can help them? And we want to film it for this episode we're doing on Mothman. And I said, sure. So I went up there. Never met these folks before in my life. The story of what happened to them is pretty amazing. It's a totally different. It's not what you would think about when you're going to film a Mothman show, right? I'm thinking I'm going to go up there and talk about this 6 to 8 foot tall humanoid creature that can fly and has wings. Well, when I get up there, they brief me on the whole situation. So Jeff and Crystal were just barely dipping their toes into being interested in investigating paranormal. And they decided they'd heard all this stuff about the bunkers, that not only is there, Mothman stuff going on out there, but they've heard the bunkers were haunted, which I've done a lot of investigations up there. And I can tell you this, they are indeed haunted by something. We don't know what it is, but there's some very dark, negative stuff up there. So they went there and they decided they were going to try their hand at doing EVP work. And everybody knows what EVP work is. I hope you run a recorder, you ask questions, and you listen for a response. It was just them two. They were in one of the bunkers. They asked a question, and they got a really blood-curdling response pertaining to that there was something there that wanted to kill them. So they got really creeped out, and they decided to leave. And they've told this story on a couple of different shows over the years. So I get up there, they tell me the story, and I had heard the story, but they gave me a little bit more detail. They said when they got back to the hotel room, they played back the EVP, and it really freaked them out. And they decided they were going to go home. And this was a brand new recorder they just bought in town before they went there. They knew there was nothing wrong with it, no malfunctions. And after they got home, things started happening in their home, like paranormal things. They were waking up with strange marks on their body. There was bruises, scratches. Things would fly across the room, and so on and so forth. So my job was there to see if being with them there, they wanted to go back to the scene where it all happened and see if we could get some answers. And I thought that was a really cool approach to a show. And so I said, okay, well, let's go in there and see if we can find out any information, right? So, so we got a whole film crew, mind you. We're filming a TV show, so there's 2 or 3 camera people. There's a sound person that has really high tech sound gear that can hear an ant fart at 50 yards. It's really high tech stuff. And they had set up now, if you've ever been to the bunkers or seen pictures, they're like a big cement dome.
I
Just
have a
imagine
picture. I'm showing them a
right.
picture.
So it's a big dome. It's essentially a giant Faraday cage. And what that means is there should be no way any radio signals get in there or any kind of electronical interference, because when you have a 3-foot thick concrete wall with a steel door in there, no signals can really penetrate it. So I decided we were going to start off. I started off with an EMF meter, a millimeter, and I put a REM pod on the ground, and I was going to just start off doing a ghost box session and ask questions and see if we could hear a response. Now, the tech folks from the filming company, they had put these battery operated lights all around the inside perimeter on the floor of the bunker. And what these bunkers were for, they would store munitions for the war effort. They would store them there after they made them. Then they would pick them up, ship them off on barges out to the coast, and then they would take them overseas for the war effort. So, so we start off, and I kind of start walking around them, and I got the ghost box running, and I just wanted to see, doing what I do, if maybe there was any energy registering on Jeff or Crystal themselves, right? So as I'm walking around Jeff, not much. It starts, and they're standing pretty close to each other. I'd say there was a gap about that far. And nobody had their cell phones on or nothing. Everything was on airplane mode, so there wouldn't have been no interference. Walking around them, and when I got between him and Crystal, the meter started lighting up. And I used a K2 as well. I used a millimeter and a K2. And the K2 really started lighting up. Like, it started hitting yellows and oranges, and went all the way. When I got behind Crystal, it lit up bright red. At the same time, I asked a question to the ghost box. I said, "What do you want from Jeff and Crystal?" And a really horrible voice said, "Blood." just like that. Right, that came right. I mean, it was an immediate response. Um, and it was saying a lot of other nefarious stuff, like it wanted them dead and stuff, and it was getting really negative. And when I got the crystal, I separated when I started the meter start lighting up on crystal. I wanted to see, okay, if it's just her or both Jeff and her. So I separated Jeff about 5 to 10 feet away. And when I put the meter all around her, I mean it maxed out at red, red, red. And I said, okay. And I was getting more ghost box responses, and then she started just crying and ran out of there, along with the sound person, the
Oh my.
sound lady, and they ran out there too because the sound lady was doing like this, wiping herself off and stuff. I'm like, what is going on? What's wrong with you guys? And of course, you can imagine Crystal was pretty overwhelmed by this, and the sound lady was freaking out. She says, I'm not going back in there. And then, of course, the producer's like, why? What's going on? She goes, I'm hearing all these demonic type voices coming across my
Oh,
sound and all this stuff. And I don't really want to do that. So she basically quit on the spot
oh my God.
and handed her equipment off to another guy. She goes, I am not going back in there. And then she went out to the van and waited for us to finish doing what we were doing. So we went back in, we were doing another session, and they only show a little bit of this, which is so unfortunate because it was pretty intense in there. So we're back in there doing some more ghost box and stuff. And remember, I said all those lights were on the floor. Now
Yeah.
these are high quality, really good lights that last for 10 to 12 hours, and they're LEDs. They had them all fully charged. And as we're getting those bad responses on the ghost box, the lights start going bzzz, like making that buzzing sound like you hear sometimes when fluorescent lights are going to go out. And then 4 or 5 of the lights just went out on their own in the bunker. And they show a
Wow.
short piece of that in the TV show. So it was really intense and everything. And we got a lot of crazy responses. I don't want to tell everything because I want folks to read the book, of
Yeah,
course,
absolutely.
but it's a really intense story. And they even when they went back after the show, of course I gave them all my contacts and I offered them several different ways and contacts of mine that if they wanted help, this to reach out and I would continue helping them. And they decided to go on their own path and do that. And I guess last time I actually saw him last year, not this year at Mothman, but I saw him and he came by and said hi, and I asked him how everything was going, and he said everything's done a lot better, but they did their own methods and everything. And sorry, the kitty was going crazy behind me.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, so everything was doing a lot better for them, but they literally lived with paranormal activity. Their marriage was almost broken up by
Oh
this
no.
paranormal activity for over 10 years before they came, and we did that, and then we did some stuff, and I think we set them on the right path and gave them some good ideas, and they finally got help. But it was a really intense story, and that's what I do. That's one of the cases I've done and worked over the years. And all I can do is offer people what I know works, and they have to make the choice. Okay, I'm going to do that, or I'm going to go my own way. And they chose their own way, and it took. They said it took about 3 years before the activity in their home stopped.
It
To
finally
went down,
stopped.
down,
Really?
down to nothing, but they had to get help in there and do whatever they did. I didn't
Oh,
get into too many details, but
oh,
when you
wow.
see a lot of these film people, they don't even believe in this stuff, and then they have reactions like that. And even when those lights went out, like 2 or 3 of the camera guys freaked out, and they went outside too for a few minutes
Oh
because
my God.
you're not one light you can call it a coincidence, but 4 or 5 of them, these are lights that they never have any issues with. And in the book, I tell a lot more about all of that. So that's just one case I've worked up there and many times, but it just so happened to be on a TV show. So pretty intense stuff.
Yeah, God, that's really scary. Um, what else do you want to talk about, Dave? There was something. Why did you want to go into the other hauntings? Like,
So I want people to know it's not just hauntings, but I want people to understand that there's many other cryptid reports that come from that area to include uh, dogmen, a lizard man type creature that has been seen for many, many years up and down the Ohio River, including around Point Pleasant and on the other side of Point Pleasant, and even in the Kanawha River. I'll give you one really good story about it. And there's much more. You know, the military's been involved with this creature too. But I'm not going to tell you that one. I want you to read the book. But one guy that I interviewed, so up the Kanawha River. So imagine here's the Kanawha River running right towards you, and then the Ohio intersects, and right between them is Point Pleasant. That's the point. That's what they call the point right there. So up and down the Kanawha River, there's coal barges, right? They run coal up and down to fire the power plants and everything else. There's a lot of power plants on the river. That's an easy way to transport it, you know, right on these coal barges and stuff. And the Ohio River is massive. If you've ever been to it or seen it, I mean, they still run some of those big paddle wheel boats on there, which I love, and they're super, super haunted on those things too. But um, so I was at Mothman Festival doing my thing, signing books several years ago, and this older gentleman walked up to me. He goes, "I have a story I'd like to share with you, and if you've got time." And I said, "Well, give me about 15 minutes, and I'm going to take a break, and then you can tell me." So I said, "Go get you a drink or something, come back." He said, "Okay." So he came back, and I kind of go off to the side of my tent where people can't see me because people were wanting to buy books and stuff. So I kind of hide for a little bit so I could hear this. So I could hear this story from this guy, right? So this guy proceeds to tell me that he is a tugboat, you know, a tugboat captain for like 40 years. He runs the coal barges up and down the river. And one night he's running some barges and stuff. He was on his last load of barges for the night or whatever. And, you know, those tugboats have a big tower where the captain can drive and he can look down and see way out from them. They have a bunch of lights on them at night so they can see. And he's looking down and he sees what looks like a person jump up out of the water and onto one of the coal barges, like pulled it, like jumped up, pulled itself up, and it's standing there. So he kicks on a real big spotlight and hits this thing, and it spins around and looks at him, and its eyes are glowing like a yellowish green and red. He said it was the weirdest eye shine he's ever seen, and he doesn't know what to do, so he shuts the engines down and stuff, and he only has I think he said two other crew with him at night, and there was one guy was sleeping, the other guy was working on maintenance on something down in the boat, down underneath the, you know, down in the
yeah.
underbelly of. So he shuts down the thing and he goes running down there. And as he gets closer, he's got a handheld spotlight with him, and he hits it with it, and the thing dives off the barge into the river, and swims right next to the boat, and it goes right by him, and he's got a light on it. And to his horror, he realizes this thing's covered in like green scales and has a tail and has these fins going down from the back of its neck down all the way to like where the tail meets the bottom of its back, and this thing's swimming, you know, right by the boat. And then it dives down in the water, and just then his crew guy comes up and said, "What's going on? Why'd you shut the engines down?" And he doesn't want to tell him, so he said, "Oh, I saw a big log floating in the water." And then he goes, "We're good now. It's gone." And he went back up and never said a word for nobody for like 25 years. And he felt compelled, and he comes and tells me this story. So doing what I do, I've already heard all these lizard man stories up and down the Ohio. And it goes all the way from Point Pleasant all the way down past Cincinnati on the Ohio, which is a long way, hundreds of miles. This lizard man creature has been reported for many, many years up and down that area. So that's one story that's along with many others.
I never heard
So,
of the lizard man ever.
yeah, you can look it up. It's pretty compelling stuff. Um,
Wow.
Another creature that I saw firsthand, I can't say 100% this is what it was, but me and Weatherly were investigating there. We did one of our trips there where we spent like 4 or 5 days in Point Pleasant, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the Lowe Hotel on this one too. But
Okay.
the first thing is that so we're just cruising the bunkers because we kind of got there and we wanted to kind of get our feel for what we were going to do because we were going to film it, and we did a video of this. It was called the Point Pleasant Files. Low budget, filmed it, had it edited and stuff, but we just wanted to document what we got there. And we're driving down, so you can imagine all these bunkers are in pretty much straight lines, and then they're so overgrown now. You have to go through really thick woods to get in there to them. But in between each row of bunkers, there's roads, right? So they had to drive military trucks and load the munitions on, and then take them down to the barges at the river and all that stuff. So we're driving down one of these roads, and I look over and I see a deer carcass laying there. So that area is a wildlife management area now. Like, they let people hunt and fish in there and all kinds of stuff. So I'm not thinking too much about it until we start getting closer, and I'm almost driving past it, and I look at it. And I was like, what the heck? So I stopped the car, and when I'm doing that stuff, I always have a GoPro running in my windshield. So if something runs across the road, I'm going to capture it, right? So we go over to this deer carcass, and I start looking at it, and I notice right off the bat, there's no tire tracks from any kind of vehicles. There's no human activity, and I get the deer, and I'm looking at it up close. And right down the middle of this deer's face right here, we've all heard about cattle mutilations and UFO sightings. So this deer, from right here all the way down to its breastbone right
Oh.
here, was like it was perfectly cut with a laser, and one side of its face was nothing but white bone, no meat
Oh
whatsoever.
my God.
I'm like, holy, this is not right. Something's weird here. So then I start looking for any signs that a human shot this thing. There was no bullet holes. There was no blood. There was not even any insect activity on this carcass. And I'm like, dude, are you seeing this to weather? He's like, yeah. So I was like, okay, we start talking amongst ourselves. And I was like, let's try to do a 50-yard radius in a circle to see if we can find any kind of human activity. Well, about 2 feet or 3 feet away from the carcass, we noted this really weird, round looking print of some kind, but it was big. It was like that big around. Wasn't a bear, wasn't anything that could even resemble a known animal. It was looked like a giant hoof print, but there was only one of them. So he's doing that. I said, I'm going to run back to the car and get a camera so we can film this and everything. And in the meantime, I have my GoPro running in the windshield because I just leave it running in case something does. So I'm over there digging in my car for the camera, and I happen to look up and I see down the road about 50 to 60 yards, looks like a Texas style chupacabra. The dog, there's two different types of chupacabras. There's the dog canid type, and then there's the reptilian type. This was the dog canid type. It looked like a dog, mangy dog, but it had the weirdest gait, like it was almost loping and moving in this type of manner. I've never seen anything like it before or since. And I'm like yell whispering to Weatherly. I was like, David, get over here, and trying not to scare this thing, whatever it is. Finally, I get his attention. He comes over, and I'm like, look at that. And we're watching it for at least a good minute or two. And I said, he goes, let's go closer. So we jump in the car and try to get down closer to this thing. And then it goes off into the woods and we lose it. But we got it on camera. So the weird part is not only the deer carcass, right? And I got pictures of that. Those will be in the book. Everybody will see the pictures of this thing. For some reason, we just go back to town and get something to eat instead of going back to the deer carcass was what we started. It was almost like something was manipulating what we were thinking about, like it was distracting us. And then we get there to eat, and we're like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? We got to go back to the deer carcass. So we hurry up and ate our food, and we flew back out there, which we weren't gone for more than 40 minutes. And guess what? The deer carcass is totally gone.
No way.
Yeah.
No. Oh, that's weird, Dave.
So why? And that's another thing. Uh, no tire tracks, no nothing. Where did it go? So then we were sitting there talking with each other, and we're like, wait a minute. There's no tire tracks. There's no human footprints. Nothing. No drag marks. Nothing. The only thing that could have happened is the thing was dropped from the air, and it was picked up by the air. It just didn't make any sense. It still don't make sense. We still can't figure it out to this day. So that's another story that's in the book. That gives you an example of what I'm talking about here. So we're on this trip, right? So we stay at the Lowe Hotel because we always would.
Oh,
I would always stay there whenever I come into town and investigate it, right? When I could. So, and we're going to go backtrack here a minute. So we first got there that night, got our gear put up in the room, and that's when we decided to go check out the bunkers and everything, kind of scope it out, decide our game plan. So, excuse me. So that after all that went down, we were like, well, that's kind of shot for the night. So let's just go back. By this time, it's pretty dark, getting dark. We head back to the hotel. Take the rest of our gear up there. We hung out and we were just talking with each other about that, saying, man, that was really freaking weird. And we couldn't get over how that all went down. But after several hours of talking, it was getting late, so we decided to go to bed. And the room we had was like a living room, and then it goes into this other room that has 2 beds in it. It was like a suite room, but we
yeah.
had our own living room and everything. And it's the same room I've stayed in many, many times. As soon as we were both getting in bed at the same exact time, he lays his head down, and I go to lay down like that, and we hear a woman's voice, clear as bell, say, David. And we both sat up and looked, and I was like, did you hear that? And he's like, did you hear it? I'm like, well, both our name is David, so that's
Yes.
pretty weird.
Yes.
So then we do a little EVP session trying to get any more responses. Don't get anything. But the Lowe Hotel is very haunted. I've investigated it several times, got numerous EVPs there. There's numerous ghost stories there of different things. I'll give you one that a witness reported years ago. And some of the old staff I've interviewed over the years had some pretty hair-raising attempts. But one woman, long story short, she booked a room. She went up there, goes into her room, and there's a man there floating, but there's no legs on this guy. There's just a man looking out the window, and he's got a captain's suit on, but he has no legs. It's an apparition just floating. And she said, she didn't notice he had no legs at the very beginning, because she said, who are you and what are you doing? And he says his name's John or whatever. And she's like freaking out, and she turned away and looked back, and he was gone. So that's just one of many. There's many stories I'll be putting in this. I put in the book already, and more that you haven't even seen yet, Norene. So that's one of the little hotel. There's also one of a little kid in there that was supposedly one of the first builders, kids that died in there, and they're often seen riding a little red tricycle around the hallways, and it's almost like The Shining. It's kind of spooky. But
Wow.
and of course, so you also got to remember there is said to be a curse on the whole Ohio River Valley, which is Point Pleasant all the way down through Charleston and everything else. But when I told in the very beginning of the show, remember I told you there was big Native American wars there and everything, and there's a famous Shawnee chief named Chief Cornstalk, and he wanted peace. He didn't want everybody to fight and everybody get killed, and he tried to do several peace treaties and stuff, and they lured him to the fort there and under a peace symbol, and hey, we're going to have talks, we're going to work it out, whatever. He gets there and they murder him, and they say as he lay dying, he cursed the whole Ohio River Valley. And over the years, there's been many crazy fires that burnt half the town down. There's been major floods and everything else, So was there a curse? The natives say no, but you never know. Lots of crazy stuff happens there. There's
Yeah.
also been giant skeletons found buried nearby as well in some of these burial mounds. So the Kanawha River Valley is very famous for having some of the biggest mounds, Native American mounds in the whole United States. And some of these skeletons that were unearthed 8, 9, 10 feet tall. And the government agents would come in once they were found and swoop them out of there, and they would never be seen again or heard about. So there's a lot of that in the book too that people need to read about because it's pretty interesting stuff.
And
So you have it all. You have it all in Point Pleasant. It's one of those areas of just craziness when it comes to the unexplained. And I talk about UFOs and everything else in this book. It's many, many years of culmination of me investigating and researching this area and interviewing many people.
okay, I'm going to show the picture. What is this? This water panther stone. What is that?
Okay, that's a sacred stone used by one of the local tribes, and you can see it's called a water panther. That's one of their mythological beings that they worshipped and stuff like that. That's on this stone, and it's right there on the point. They have it housed in this little hut thing. You can see part of it, and you can see it's pretty neat. And Chief Cornstalk, what's left of his bones, is buried under that one monument you see me standing by there, the little one. And then there's a giant obelisk as well that talks about the men that were killed there during the Battle of Point Pleasant and everything else.
What about the banshee?
Okay, well, I don't want to tell too much of that story,
Okay.
but it's one of the really good ones for the book. But I'll briefly touch on it. There's what's called the Screaming Lady of Mason County. This family, a large family, had a bunch of kids, and this girl here, she was left alone. The family went to town to do whatever, shop or whatever, and she was there. And that whole area back in those days was full of lumberjacks and miners and everything else. And the story goes that some lumberjacks came by. They noticed she was alone, young farm girl. They went in, had their way with her, and then took her out in the woods. Just beat her to death almost, and buried her alive. Well, for many years after that incident, people would report they would hear the most god awful screaming sound of a woman screaming out in those woods and around the area, and they called her the Screaming Lady of Mason County. And there's a lot more to the story, but you have to read the book.
Oh, yeah, I understand. I understand. Hey, Chip and Terry wants to know, and others want to know, when will your book be available?
It'll be ready probably within no more than 2 months, end of November.
You know what? I don't know how you have time to even write a book, Dave. You have so much going on. Do you want
These
to
are,
talk about,
these are books I've been working on for a long
long
time.
time? Oh my God.
Um,
Do you have another
and
one in mind after this one?
I'll usually do pre-sales like I do all my other books. So when I put it up for pre-sale, it's only for a couple of weeks, and then the people that buy it for pre-sale get a free special gift with it. And
Oh,
it'll be all over my social media when I do the pre-sale. But if not, you'll be able to get it on. You'll be able to get them on Amazon, like all my other books.
so you have a new thing going on, you and Jen. You want to
Yes.
talk about that?
So everybody knows I had the Willows Weep House, and I did a 7-year paranormal project, it's done, but the stuff that's coming out from it's not out yet. It'll be out as soon as possible. A lot of things transpired on the week that I tore the house down. Did one final week-long investigation there and had some really crazy stuff happen. So I can't wait to share that with everybody. That'll be in a book and a documentary. So when it becomes available, everybody will know. We'll talk about it on the show if you want. So I have now purchased a new haunted location. It's here in West Virginia. Um, and Jen and I purchased it together, and we will be shortly this month, we're going to be opening it to the public for the first time. And it's called the Shantytown Spirit Shack. Because It is built in an area that was heavy duty coal mining and lumberjack town. And people were so poor back then, they built all these shacks and they called them shanties, you know. And this was called Shanty Town. And this is where the house is, right? It's fairly close to my house that we are turning into a B&B. But this house has three deaths, along with what happened all along this property with the murders, robberies, rapes, and other crazy deaths that happened right on the grounds of this place. There was a giant smokestack there. A guy fell off of it and died right beside the smokestack where the school is now, which is literally probably 100 yards from the house. Was a big tannery, and that's where they had all the chemicals to tan stuff and everything. And a lot of people died in there too. But you can imagine if it was a mining town, lumberjack town, and these workers and their families were living in these little shanty shacks and everything. There was all these murders, and it was like an old west cowboy town. You know, the the prostitutes would come in all the way from Charleston on the train. There was train robberies, and it was just pure chaos, like old West style stuff. So there's a lot to do with this house. Suicide in there, a couple other deaths, and everything else. So I don't want to give too much on that, but that's what we're doing. It's a new haunted location, and I'll be doing a really extensive another paranormal project there with Jen. And we're bringing in metaphysical people. There's going to be seances. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff. I don't do the seances, but I'll be there filming it and whatnot. You know, that's Jen's forte. But and we'll have other people participating and investigations as well. We're also going to be I don't know exactly when, but in short time, there will probably be a live feed in this house 24/7, so people can jump on YouTube and watch it live and
Well,
with
that's
no human interaction. So there'll be no human interference, and then we'll leave some paranormal equipment in there to see if people can jump on live and see if anything's going on in the house. Um,
um
the cool the cool thing about the house is last person living in it that died, all their stuff is still in there. So it's basically essentially a giant trigger object. So this is going to be very interesting just to see what kind of evidence we can gather from that alone.
oh, I would love to know all
And
that
I've seen
old history
shadows
that's
in the,
that's in there that stuff stays in the land. And I would
mhm.
love to see what you can conjure up from that area. That would really be interesting.
So it's not only the house, but it's this little strip of land where all this
Yeah.
crazy and too that the house sits on.
Yeah.
And right behind the house, the railroad track used to go right beside it. So I mean, literally feet away. And it's just going to be very interesting paranormal wise to see what all we can document and get in there. And we're going to use other teams too. You know, we've been doing experiments like we'll have teams here starting next month, and then 6 months later, the teams that will be coming in will also be doing a set of experiments the same way this team did 6 months prior. And we're going to see if we can match anything up. You know what I mean? So it'll be really interesting to see what kind of stuff matches up, if we get the same names or anything like that, or they experienced maybe, you know, this team six was here, say in May, and in November or December, this team got the same thing happen to them. That would be
Yeah,
interesting.
oh
So,
yeah.
you know, stuff like that. And then it'll all be put into a book and filmed and documented, you know. So little things like that we need to do to show that, hey, you know, this place has residual hauntings and or intelligent hauntings, and this team was here this month, and 8 months later this team maybe experienced the same thing. We don't know what's going to happen with it, so it'll be interesting to see, you know, something different, something kind of push this field a little further and try some different experiments and stuff like that. So I'm
Uh,
super
oh
excited about
yeah.
it.
Oh my God, Dave, you always have something going on. Always. You guys are unbelievable. What a life you have, Dave. It's been really, you have been have a really exciting life. Really
Well,
have.
fun, you know, to me it's a passion, you know, and it's three, like I always say, you guys have heard me say this before, three of man's greatest unanswered questions. What happens when we die? Are we alone in the universe, and are there unknown creatures walking among us? That's why I do this stuff. If it's fascinating, sometimes it's bone chilling and creepy as all get out, but and sometimes it's very healing and magical when you can help cross over a spirit that may have been being kept here against its will. So it's got so many different emotions involved and energies involved, and it's what we do. So what we're trying to do, show people, hey, this stuff is real. It's all around you, and this is where we were. This is what we're doing. This is what we got. Make up your own mind.
Interesting.
Anybody got any questions? We can answer some for a few.
Anybody have any questions?
The book's going to be really good, guys. It's chock full of all kinds of stuff. It's not just the Mothman. It's got much, much more than the Mothman.
Well, you have aerial phenomena, the silver. Okay, you talk about the Silver Bridge disaster. Hey, Dave, the I this Mothman. Um, so he's supposed to bring bad luck and
Mm-hmm.
disaster wherever he goes. And then this Mothman has expanded his sightings all the way into other countries. Uh, so why? How come that's happening?
So some people feel the Mothman is a demonic entity that's same as, if not similar to, the demon Pazuzu. Okay. That's some people's take on it. It's said that it's always seen when the Mothman or this creature, whatever it may be, is seen, that it's foretelling a major disaster is going to happen. Like supposedly it was seen at Chernobyl before Chernobyl blew. Supposedly it was seen at the Fukushima plant in Japan after the tsunami, and many other places where there was just horrible catastrophes. And this was even before Point Pleasant. It's been documented. This demonic or negative entity is some sort of harbinger of doom. If it's seen, a lot of people are going to die. Other people think that it's there to warn people, to help save people. Hey, be aware, there's something going to happen. So there's two sides to every story. Who knows? But yeah, that's the typical thought process or theory on the Mothman as we are with it today. But who knows, really, man? We don't know, what this thing is. It could be an ET of some sort. It could be some type of demonic entity, like I said, or an interdimensional being. Who knows what it is?
Okay, but okay, so this thing appears to certain people, all of, not everybody. Why would they do that? Why would they appear before people? And if they do, and these people that they appear to, um, like one case I heard, a Spanish couple, um,
Mm-hmm.
do they pick certain nationalities to appear to?
No, I wouldn't say that, because this thing's been seen all over the world,
But I
by
mean in
white people,
person, where
Hispanics.
they'll confront a couple.
Well, there's one story that in the book, another example. There's a white couple driving down the road, coming home from a family gathering, and they see this thing stand up in the middle of the road. And as they get closer, it flies off this bridge. That's another story that's in the book. I mean, there's it. I don't think it picks anybody. It's just random, and
Okay.
lots of people see this thing.
All right. Now, do you
Thousands,
know?
thousands of people have reported seeing this
I
creature.
know. Do you know of any other disasters besides the Silver Bridge connected to Mothman?
Yeah, the Chernobyl incident, the Fukuyama, whatever.
Wait a minute. No way. I never heard
Yeah.
that before.
Oh yeah,
Terminal?
Chernobyl. Yeah,
Oh my
and
God.
there's numerous ones that people claim to have seen the Mothman before it happened.
I never heard that, Dave. Oh my God. Hey, I have somebody.
And here's one
What?
that'll flip you out. So we know the movie The Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
So that demonic entity that I said, the P name, Pazuzu, that was the same entity they say some people think is the Mothman, and that's what possessed the little girl in the Exorcist movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, who knows what it is really.
I
It
have a,
just like whenever this thing shows up, bad things happen.
but the things that you just told me were like big. They were big incidents that, they're big.
No, I mean when a bridge collapses,
Well, that's big.
I think the Point Pleasant thing, I think that's still the largest bridge collapse, that the most people that died in a bridge collapse anyhow, in American history. So, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but it's if not, it wasn't. If it's not now, it definitely was before, and it's one of the top two or three. 46 people died. They never found two of the bodies, and in the book too, I also have gone out there and done EVP work and stuff at on the site of the bridge collapse, where we got some pretty interesting names that matched up to a couple of the victims, and you'll see about that in the book as well too. So there's a lot in the book that's gonna be eye opening to people, I think.
All right, we have a question. I am Alpha wants to know, what's your thoughts on the CDC doing zombie apocalypse drills since 2011?
Well, I don't know about that, but who knows? You see every now and then you'll see on the news or whatever, some person freaks out, like that one guy who was running naked down the street and he grabbed that woman and was trying to eat her and biting her and stuff. Who knows what kind of drugs these people are on? You know what I mean? So are they, some conspiracy theorists think that they're spraying stuff on all of us, and it's making some people like lose their minds and stuff. So who knows? Hopefully it won't come to something like that, but you never know nowadays with what's been happening and what's been perpetrated upon the world population. But yeah, like I said, if I highly recommend, guys, if you've never been to Point Pleasant and you have the ability to go there. And another thing too about Point Pleasant is it's during the day, it's a hustle and bustle little town. It's busy, people walking, shopping. But I'm telling you, after 5 o'clock, it turns into a ghost town, and it has the most eerie feeling. One of the most eerie feelings come. It just like when the darkness comes, the whole place just changes. It's so weird. I can't explain it. It just has the most eerie feeling of any little town I think I've ever been in. Once the night comes and the hustle and bustle stops, it just I can't explain it. It's just weird. It has a weird sensation, a weird feeling. You can feel like things are watching you, and it's not necessarily people, but it's something watching you. It's just the weirdest eerie supernatural feeling you'll ever experience.
There's another question from Crystal Black. What is Dave's scariest or worst investigation? Oh, I know that one.
And
I know.
there's a bunch of there's a
I
bunch of
know.
them.
I know that one. Go ahead.
Probably Wicked 46.
Yep, that's it. That
Uh,
is, oh,
there's a book about that too.
I know. We did
Uh,
a show on that.
yeah, that's where I actually had an attachment, and it really flipped my life upside down, and it was a mess for a while. Till I realized I got an attachment from that place, and I had to get cleared. So people still say that and the Willow's Weep book are two of the most scary books they've ever read. And most of them say when they read it, they couldn't put it down. They couldn't stop reading either one of them. So if you like the really freaky, scary stuff, I highly recommend those two.
Yeah, uh,
You know, me, see, people don't realize a lot of these guys that write books on this stuff, they're not boots on the ground investigators. They're not going out there doing what I do, interviewing people and investigating it. And they sit at home on a computer and they write books. They might call people and interview them like that, but there's not that many out there that are doing it. John Zaffis does that. He's out boots on the ground weekly, if not daily sometimes. There's very few of us that actually go out and do all the work we write about. On my stuff, I have video to back up just probably 99% of everything I write about. So I film everything I do, or if not, I got audio on it. So I live this life for real. I'm not some TV person. TV is just a bonus. If I get a TV show here and there, I'll do them if I like them. If not, I turn them down. So, um, just if you want to know who the real deal people are in this stuff, look up their body of work. These people on YouTube, 98% of them are full of BS. They're sitting at home trying to get clicks and doing clickbait for money. They're not out there. And you guys know me from my old YouTube channel. I was like one of the, I think, first people besides another guy who we all know, that I don't mention his name, but to live stream paranormal investigations, you know? Um, and I literally still have most of those videos up there. I mean, there's hundreds of them. And I've been doing it for a long time like that, even before I was on YouTube. So there's not that many people out there that do this for real. There's TV people, there's YouTube people, podcast people, and people like me.
Okay,
And
I'm sorry. I have a question, but go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, Dave. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
people like me and Jen, I mean, we live this life for real. We're going to people's houses almost weekly, and trying to help these people experiencing negative hauntings and everything else. So, um, the stuff you're seeing in my books is some of that, and there'll be a lot more of that coming in the future. Um, and other cases I've done many years ago. Some are just locations like known like locations like Waverly Hills and some of the crazy asylums and prisons. I mean, I wrote about my experiences in those types of places too. But in the future, you'll start seeing more and more of some of these residential cases I've done. Only in some of them I can use their names if they let me. Other ones I just change the name because it's right to privacy. So, but this is real deal stuff, folks. You know,
Dave,
many people in this stuff.
we have another question from Tallcross, our friend from, whoops, going up. Our friend from Scotland. Hold on.
Yeah, Scotland.
Oh, yeah, my buddy. Oh God, okay, here. He wants to know, have you ever done investigations abroad?
I've done a few when I was in the military. When I had time, I did some stuff over in Italy. I lived in Italy for 5.5 years. I did EVPs in the Colosseum, and I walked the streets of Venice. I've done some ancient monasteries over there, but in the future, I'm looking to go to Ireland, Scotland, and England, and doing some stuff there.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I'm,
Ireland,
my
Scotland.
people, yeah, my relatives came from Ireland, and both my grandmas are from Scotland too. McMillian and McRose. So,
Oh,
and then my dad's people came from Ireland. So I definitely am going over there
oh God,
at some
Dave.
point.
Those castles are so haunted. You can
Well, they have
stay over. Huh?
so much more history there than we
Yeah.
have here.
Yeah, but when you stay in my sister stayed in a haunted castle in Scotland. She was scared to death. The doors were
Oh,
opening and closing. There was all kinds of stuff going on in the room.
oh, yeah, I'm definitely gonna be staying in some of those when I'm over there.
Oh, that'd be fun. God, that would be fun.
Be cool. If we could set up a live stream over there.
Really?
Yeah, at least
Oh.
for an hour or something.
Oh.
Do
What
a ghost hunt.
can you do it on my show?
We might be able to. I have to see when I get over there. I have to talk to some people.
Okay. That would be awesome.
Like 6 hours later over there than it is here, so
Well, 6 to 8.
it'd be 9 hours later than
Yeah.
your time,
Yeah. Well, let's see. Well, see, I could do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that
hmm
would be 9 o'clock over there, I think.
which would be crazy. But yeah, try to do something. I think
Yeah.
I'll have to buy some type of through my phone company. You have to buy an overseas time or something like that. But it would still be fun to do just a live hour or something on there.
Oh, absolutely. Also, Dave and I talked about Dave doing a live show at his shanty house.
Yeah, I think we should try to do something live over there. Maybe two things, different times for this
Okay.
for Halloween time.
All right.
Um,
Well, let me tell you something. Hold on for a second. Okay, so I have Jen scheduled for January 10th. I
mhm.
know we had talked about it. Did you want to do a seance on a live show at your shanty town on the 10th?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
Thursday.
yeah. We might try to do that.
I mean, it'd be something different. Otherwise, I would just, just do more mysterious
Well,
things.
straight up, I don't like when she channels because it's freaky, man.
Oh, well, Dave,
It's-
I want you
She's
to,
talking
what?
in a whole different voice and
Oh,
saying some weird off the wall stuff. And she wants me to do it for her so I can film her because she's still in her learning process of channeling. But she's done it several times, and I've seen her do some crazy stuff with it.
I want to know about that land. Beside the house, I want to know what's there on that land. I want you to find out stuff. Okay, let's do it. On the 10th, we'll do a
I have to
show on.
got to
Huh?
clear it through the boss first.
All right.
But I know she wants to do it. I think it'd be very interesting because this is like, you gotta remember, this is like a virgin location. No one's ever, I haven't even investigated it yet myself. I've walked through it. We walked through it. You can feel the energy in there. It's pretty heavy and sad. So um, I'm probably gonna, as soon as this week's up, next week, I'm probably gonna do my first investigation in there.
Okay.
So because I got to get this thing off and running. Because it's my next big project.
All right.
So
Okay.
it's,
So I'm gonna set it up then for the 10th. I'm just gonna create a YouTube event,
mhm.
um, and do it on the 10th. That'll be fun. Everybody
You
will.
you already have her scheduled for that
Yeah, for
night.
the 10th. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all
Okay.
right.
So we'll do that. Okay, Dave, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be exciting. I know you had talked about that, and I said, well, let's save it for another time. There was another show we were going to do too. I forgot what it was. There was two of them. That one, and there was something else. I said, well, just let me know when you want to do it. And I can't remember what it
You mean
was.
at the house? You mean at the house?
No, well, we're going to do that on the 10th, but there was something else. And I said, well, you just let me know when you do it. And I thought there was something else you wanted to do. I can't remember.
I was trying, I was trying to remember, but we've talked about so many different
I
shows.
know. I know. Well, you always have me. Whenever you want to come on, yeah, I could do tell me, and I'll do it, even if it's not on a Thursday.
Well, I appreciate you letting me talk about the book a little bit. It's always a pleasure being on your show. We go way back, and all the fans on there. I know you have some of the ones from way back still on there. Probably a bunch of new ones. So it's fun stuff, crazy stuff. But
Paranormal is crazy.
if you guys are interested in my books, just go type in on Amazon Dave Spinks and books or authors, and all my books will pop up. They'll all eventually be on there. All the ones I've already got out there are all there now. Sold a ton of books this weekend. I mean, a ton. I think I definitely know this was my best year ever up at Mothman's my biggest event because there was over 20,000 people there this year. So,
Twenty
um,
thousand?
oh yeah, it's huge every year. It goes from like 15 to 30,000 up to upwards into 30,000 people show up there. It's a
Wow.
massive, massive event. And so, like I said, don't go there during the festival unless you've never been. You want to experience the festival, it's a lot of fun. But if you want to experience the town and the museum and the energy, go there when it's not the festival.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I mean, people wait in line for 4.5 hours for the museum alone at the festival. So, um, but yeah, there's a lot of great authors there, a lot of great artists, all kinds of cool stuff having to do with all this stuff. So, it's a really cool time.
No, I bet it was fun. I saw pictures that you posted. Look really great. That looked. Okay, honey.
But
Thanks. What? Is there anything
all
else
right,
you want to say before we go?
no more questions. Any more questions?
Any more questions for Dave? Any other questions? I know.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you.
Hey, Dave, thanks a lot, honey. I'll be talking to you. I'll see you on the 10th, though, for sure.
Yeah, that'll be a fun show.
Okay, thanks so much. Thank you.
All right. Good night,
Say,
guys. Thanks. Have a good night.
good night. Say hi to Jen for me.
I will.
Good night.
Good night. Bye bye.
Bye. Okay, so that's going to be fun. His upcoming book is going to be a bestseller. I guarantee it. I have the chapters that are in that book. It's crazy, unbelievable. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the show, and please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you like the show, and please make a comment underneath the video. When I used to do shows in the beginning, I used to get 400 comments all the time on the shows, but there's so many paranormal shows out there that people just keep, I get a lot of views and they look and then they just go away. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And please subscribe if you like the show if you're new, okay? So I want to tell you guys, I have a special show on Sunday. It's the 29th. This Sunday? Oh, I think it's the 29th. Hold on. Yeah, it's the 29th. A friend of mine from the UK, I've known him for a long time. His name is Pete McCloskey. Oh gosh, where's the book? Oh God, I have to go back over here. Oh, all right, I have to go back over here on this one. Okay, hold on. Get rid of this. So much out. This out. And let me close Dave out. And okay. Okay. Gonna do a show on this. I aired a show with him on the day at Love Pass. It was fabulous. Keith actually went to Russia when he wrote that book. Um, and they allowed him to see the real documents on the case. Now, I just found out he since then has written an updated version on the Day at Love. So I'm going to do 3 shows with him. This one here, The Unsolved Aviation Mysteries, and this is what it's about. You want to read it while I'm talking. Um, this is going to be fabulous. And he's going to talk about the JFK. JFK Jr., John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., the one that I think it was Christmas Eve. They were flying to God, an island. I forget the island they were flying to. Anyway, he crashed in the ocean, and they were all found in their seat belts. So there's something on this case, and he's going to talk about it. So there's 5 cases that are really creepy. Disappearing planes. A billionaire jumped out of an airplane for no reason at all. Anyway, it's going to be a good show, and I'm really looking forward to it. And this book can be purchased on Amazon, by the way. And I'm going to bring him back. Oh, and then he did wrote a book on lighthouses. There's a mystery about a lighthouse. Oh, I remember lighthouse. Anyway, I'm going to do another show. It's going to be lighthouses, and I'm going to do the updated. Um, I'm going to do the update on the Day at Love Pass. I don't know if you know about that story, if you've ever even saw my show. I've done several shows on the Day at Love Pass. It is, it, I, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how 8 Russian uh, high gosh, I forget what they call them. They ski, but they go to these locations, and they went up into the Uri Mountains, which was bad luck to begin with. You don't go up there, and they something happened to each one of them. Each one of them. One had their eyes gouged out. The other one had their tongue pulled out. It's a freaky, freaky story. So I am going to do two more shows with Pete. And I have to do it early because he's from the UK. It's not like our friend Tallcross, my dear friend. He stays up till all hours of the night to, to watch the show. Um, so I'll do it at 2, so it'll be 9 o'clock for Pete. So that's coming this Sunday, okay? So if you want to join us, it's on my front page of my channel. There's a little icon you can hit to get notified. You just have to go to my front channel. And on the front of this video, um, underneath the title, there's a Paranormal Zone TV. If you click on that, it brings you to my front page. So I don't know, Tall Cross. I don't know if that's it. I don't know the name of the book. Let's see. Let's see, hold on. Keith Muskie book. What's your title? Oh, here it is. It's lighthouses. It's there. Oh, it's hard to see. It's the lighthouse, the mystery of the Ellen Moore Lighthouse Keepers. So some mystery about the lighthouse keepers. So I'm gonna do a show next on that. It'll have to be a Sunday though, okay? So everybody, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And please, like I said, give my show a like, subscribe, please, 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 please post your comments. I'd really love to read them and tell me what you think of my shows because I really would appreciate knowing that. Andrew, I see your postings and you've seen an awful lot of things in your travels. Very interesting. I should talk with you. should- we should get together and talk. I want to know. I want to know. What, I know you have a lot. You might have a lot to say. Might be. I'll bring you on the show as one of the viewers and share your stories. So everybody, okay, I'm gonna go. Have a great weekend. My goodness, this is the last week. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is practically the last week of September. I can't believe our Halloween month is coming up. I can't believe October is already going to be here. It just felt like January. And now here it is October. And it's almost another year gone. Okay, so let me see. I got so the 10th then we're going to do the séance at Dave's Shantytown. Okay, so I have shows scheduled. All right, everybody, I'm going to go now. Um, have a great week. Be safe out there. And I'll see. Hopefully, come and join me on Sunday, okay? I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, I'll do, you know what? Last show, I forgot to do shout outs. I'm so sorry. I forgot to do that. Okay, Chippetary, Armand. I don't know what happened to Renee tonight, but Chippetary, thank you so much for being my mod. I love you. Thank you for being here. Ethel Mertz, Tall Cross as always. Um, my dear friend from Scotland, bless your heart. You're 9 hours ahead of me. That's 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Thank you so much for staying with us. B3 Airspace left in here. They're going now. Crystal Black. I know Andrew Cox, Ada Cox, Sylvester Stanton, Nancy Santa Maria. Is anybody still left? There's still a couple people left in the chat room. I want to shout out. Uh, Deck Magnet. I am Alpha. Oh, I think I am Alpha. I am Alpha. Yeah, still here. Anybody else in the chat room? Anybody want to shout out down to the oh, a lot of chat tonight. Andrew and the Gnomes. Andrew, you've been with me for a long time. A long time. So is Chippa Terry, Tall Cross, Renee. I am Alpha. Beyond the Grave. Oh, I didn't see that. Beyond the Grave, I would have told Dave. So, Deck Magnet, if you didn't subscribe, will you subscribe to my show? You're new to the show. I haven't seen you before. You know, I can't always um, respond in chat with you guys, but I look over, I see, but it's hard for me to do that when I'm trying to concentrate on a show. Oh, you do? Oh, okay. Put your name beyond the grave. Dave's my buddy. We've been friends for a long time. I think I met Dave in 2012. No, it was before that, 2008. I met Dave. It's been a long time. Oh, Crystal Black, are you new to the show? Oh, great. Um, if you go to my front page, uh, I have 400 and some videos. If you go to my front page, you have to go to Paranormal Zone TV. If you click on the Paranormal Zone TV, it'll bring you to my front page. I have over 400 videos, 400 shows. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, I'd like to know who you are beyond the grave. I'll tell Dave. Okay, so I'm gonna go. See you on Sunday. It's gonna. Keith is a wonderful storyteller. Oh my God, he's so good. I'm gonna go. Have a great weekend. Be safe, and I'll see you. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I love you guys. Love you. Love you. Love you. Thank you. Good night.